Hello, everyone. So, hi, this is my inaugural Instagram Live. Welcome. For those of you who don't know, my name is Dana Frederick, and I am a young adult steampunk and fantasy author. So, yay, that's awesome. Thus the steampunk getup. I thought, I don't really get to go out to shows anymore and get all dressed up and whatnot. So, I thought I would get dressed up for you guys. So yay. Like I said, welcome. So excited to be doing this. Like I said, I am missing hanging out with people. I am missing getting to just spend time with people outside of, well, my neighborhood, even if that. So anyway, so yeah, let's see here. Looks like, Instagram is just giving me messages letting me know that they're announcing that this is happening. Hooray. Yeah, there we go. So, but I assume it's recording. It does say live, so there we go. But yeah. So, I know no one has joined us yet, literally just started. But I am going to be posting this on YouTube and also on IGTV later. So if you would like to leave comments, let me know where you're coming from and also just what you're doing today. What are you up to? What are you drinking? That sort of thing. So speaking of things that we are drinking, give me just a moment. I've just realized that I am not sure. This is the thing of going live. You forget about things. I'm gonna need to make a checklist. So anyway, hooray, yay. Hopefully that is all sorted now. So like I said, speaking of things that we are drinking, welcome Cami. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. All right, so like I said, things that we are drinking. So I have my Talk Darcy to Me mug, and I am drinking a Moroccan mint tea today. I found lately that a lot of talking, especially in the cold weather, it really starts to make my throat sore. So I have just been sucking down mint tea like crazy lately. Cami, let me know where you're coming in from, and that way it'll probably help me remember which convention. So missing conventions right now. But yeah, so that'll be super helpful, and I just love to see where people are coming in from. So yay. Gonna take a second for a sip of tea. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. It's just nice hot tea, so good. So yeah. Oh, West Virginia. Oh my gosh, yes, the West Virginia Book Festival. That was such a great show. Oh my gosh, and beautiful, beautiful state, West Virginia. Yay. So hopefully I plan on coming back to that maybe this year, hopefully. We'll have to see. I know pretty much everything in 2020 got canceled, so fingers crossed for 2021 and things looking a lot better. But yeah, so first, basically how this is going to work. I am going to kind of talk about stuff going on in the beginning, just kind of stuff going on in my life right now as an author. And then I'm also going to do audience questions. I've got some really good questions from folks who submitted them early, who knew they were not going to be able to view the live as it was happening. So I'm going to have those. And then also, if you guys have any questions, do let me know. Again, this will be posted on YouTube and IGTV later. So also feel free to do questions after the fact, and I'll go back in and I will answer those and whatnot. So yay. And we're going to do this kind of Gail Carriger style, the way she does her lives, where she always asks viewers to put a little question mark in the beginning of questions. That way I'll know as I'm scrolling that it's a question. So it's just like a quick little shortcut or shorthand to know, oh, that's a question, I need to attend to that. So Cami says that I was her favorite vendor at West Virginia. Yay. Thank you. That's so nice. Oh, that makes me really happy. Like I said, one day we'll be back. So, right. So there is the question format and whatnot. So, right. Just going to go ahead and get started. Oh, thank you. Hello, Ella. Nice to see you here. Thank you so much for joining. So Ella, I was just telling folks that as you're coming in, just let us know where you're coming in from and kind of what you're doing today. That way we can, kind of see where everyone is coming from, which is really fun. So current news as far as the author life. In a nutshell, lately I have taken on way too much. Basically, I told several friends of mine who are also writers that I would be happy to critique their manuscripts, and I definitely am. But these requests came in at kind of like different times, so I was like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. They'll be like nice and like stratified. Is that the right use of that word? I'm not sure. But I thought, that they would come in at different times, which just ended up not being the case. All three manuscripts were ready at the same exact time, pretty much. So, in Denmark! Ella's coming to us from Denmark, and that is so cool. I've got overseas people too. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is just a big worldwide party. I love it. Okay. Fantastic. So, and Ella says it's almost bedtime there. So, I'm just going to say early on, sleep tight and whatnot, but I hope you enjoy your time here while you are here with us. So like I said, all of those manuscripts, they were all pretty much ready at the same time. So I had to rearrange my schedule a lot to try and fit in that and like all of my other author work. So that's been very challenging, lately. I've taken a leave from the day job a little bit right now, just because it's a lot. It's a little bit too much right now. As far as the amount of work that I have on the author side of things. So yeah, thankfully my new schedule blocking, system, which is called time blocking, if you guys are familiar with that, actually seems to be working pretty well. I feel like I've got a pretty good read on, the amount of stuff I can get done in a day. The only wrench that gets thrown in there sometimes is some days lately, mostly January, because January's been a tough month. Wake up and you're just like, I don't know if I can today. So that's been interesting to kind of learn to adapt to. But yeah, so been critiquing a lot of fellow author manuscripts and things like that, which is always really interesting. Magnet Rose, thank you so much for joining. Welcome. So excited to see you. Magnet Rose, I know where you're coming from, but if you want to let everyone else know where you're coming in from, that would be great. We're all just kind of sharing where we're joining from and whatnot. Just one big worldwide party. And also what you're up to today. So yeah, or maybe what you are drinking. For me, it's tea. And I do like to show this off to everyone because I absolutely love this mug, my little Talk Darcy to Me mug. Oh, I love it so much. It makes me so happy. Right. So, like I said, been learning to balance all of that, which has come in all at once with my regular author life. One of the manuscripts, one of those three, is I'm basically having to put it on the back burner while I work on the other two. And then once I'm done with one of those two, I'll bring in the third one and I'll zhuzh that around and make it work. Magnet Rose says that she is working on paperwork and drinking soda. Paperwork, always so fun. So good luck with that. And then as far as like the writing author stuff, I am currently editing a very, very silly book. It's a very silly sci-fi book that I wrote last year, where basically an alien crash lands on our planet and has to kind of figure out how the heck to get home. Of course, hijinks ensue. And yeah, she has an AI unit who's obsessed with interior design. And it is a dumb story. It is dumb and silly, and I adore it. It's just so silly because that's the book that I need right now. I need an extremely silly book that just makes me happy. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun working on it. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on, author and writing wise. Let me just scroll through my notes, see what else that I had to share. I always do notes, you guys, because I have the worst memory, especially when like I'm put on the spot. You know, it's kind of like in job interviews where they're like, "So, you know, what do you like about our company?" And you're just like, "What do I know about this company? Oh no." So, yeah. So I'm just gonna go look at my notes really quick, make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, right. I should also mention the silly alien book. Whew, this is so scary to announce because it like puts pressure on me. But I am actually hoping to query that to agents later on this year. Fingers crossed. We'll see how that whole process goes because that's terrifying. But yeah, so I mean, I have high hopes. I hope that, you know, people like it. We'll see. But first, a friend of mine and I always have this problem where we do the thing where you're like, I want to accomplish this goal, and you're working on like step 2 of the goal, but you're looking at like step 6 of the goal, and then you're like, no, I need to focus here on step 2, but then your eyes wander back to step 6. So yeah, that's kind of the struggle right now of not like thinking several steps ahead and going, oh wait, like what if agents hate it? What if like no one? What if I get an agent and no one buys it and blah 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 blah? So like that's all in my brain turning and like stressing me out, which I'm just trying to like not do. I'm just trying to like take that and be like, no, it's not time for you to worry about that yet. It's time for you to just edit the book. Just edit the book and make it great. So that's the writing situation as it stands. I'm just going to turn this slightly. I feel like it's not quite the right angle. There we go. I think that's a bit better. So yeah, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And it's just basically my rule is have fun with it. And if it makes me laugh, good to go. So yeah, let's see. I also want to talk about things that I am making as far as food, because I find that people always like talking about food. And if you guys have any like fun recipes that you've been trying lately, as we're all kind of locked down still in pandemic times, I'm finding that trying new recipes is a way of kind of keeping things fresh. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with new recipes lately. So if you want, go ahead and let me know in the comments some things that you've made recently, whether it's new recipes or old beloved ones. And yeah, we can talk about food. So one thing that I made recently is called, I apologize if I mispronounced this, I think it's called pozole. It's a Mexican pork stew, and oh my gosh, it is so good. So for the version that I made, you basically cook a pork shoulder for like 5.5, 6 hours, so that like when you take it out, and you basically just look at it and just falls apart. It's, oh my gosh, it's so like juicy and tender. And then you mix that with hominy, which is corn, but it's been treated. I'm not 100% clear on how it's been treated, because the corn pieces are like way bigger than the normal like sweet corn kernels that you get. So I don't know if it's a different kind of corn or if some way that it's treated just makes them really big. But I've never had hominy before, at least I don't remember ever having hominy, and it has such a nice texture. Like it's sweet the way that corn is always sweet, but it's also it's kind of soft, but with like a little bit of toothsomeness, so that it kind of reminds me of barley. And for those of you who don't know, we are unfortunately a celiac household. My husband has celiac disease, so everything has to be gluten-free, which means we had to give up barley a long time ago. So it's kind of nice that we found that replacement for barley. And my husband loves beef and barley stew, so we're probably going to do like a beef and hominy stew sometime soon. So that was a really nice discovery, being able to just, you know, like have this replacement food that we can't have anymore, or at least something that does the job of barley, which since we can't have that anymore. So yeah, so I made pozole, which was so good. And also the recipe I used made a ton of it. I think we were eating pozole for like the next week, which is great. So if you guys want, when I put up this in YouTube has a really good like show notes type of system. When I post this to YouTube, I'll be sure to include a link to that pozole recipe that I used in case anyone is interested. So there we go. And then actually a friend on here on Instagram, Marrow Child, I think is their user handle. They turned me on to a YouTube channel called Tasting History with Max Miller. And in there is a recipe for an ancient Babylonian dish called, I'm going to mispronounce this, I apologize again. Tuhu, I think is how you pronounce it, something like that. It's like TUH''U. And tuhu is basically a ancient Babylonian lamb and beet stew. Which I think actually sounds really good. He tries everything on his channel after he makes it. Oh, KM, you're joining us. KM Robinson is joining us. Oh, she says, love the outfit. Thank you so much. KM is one of my author friends. She has amazing, super fun books, so I definitely recommend checking her out as well. But yeah, so back to who. I know I've pronounced that like 3 different ways now. So like I said, lamb and beet stew, and Max Miller tries everything on his channel after he makes it and kind of gives you an idea of if it's any good. And some of the items are not nice. They're not very good. But apparently the tuhu was really, really tasty. Like he could not say enough nice things about it. So we're making that tonight and I'm really excited. I don't really know what to expect. I've never used beets in a stew before. Usually I roast beets, so I'm kind of excited. And I plan on doing an Instagram post showing that off with one of my books. I don't know which book yet, but we'll see. So anyway, I'll have that on my Instagram feed as well. And like I said, I will, when I put this on YouTube, I'll post a link to the video where Max Miller talks about the history of tuhu and how to make it and all that stuff. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And then let's see, I'm looking at my notes, seeing what else. So yeah, I think that's everything on food. Oh, Kaya mentioned she liked the light behind me. That's one of my dragons. I have another dragon on the other side of the room, and it's really great. This is actually my reading chair, you guys. It's huge, and I can like stretch out across it and whatnot. I've been known to take naps in this chair before, and so it's really nice. Like when it starts to get dark and whatnot, I can just turn on my little dragon lamp, and he takes care of me while I'm reading, which is nice. Tea break. So, right, that is basically everything kind of going on in my little corner of the world. Oh, JJS Wrights just joined as well. Hello, JJS. How are you? So glad to have JJS join us. JJS is also an author. You guys have a lot of really amazing author friends, and I feel very, very fortunate for that. So JJS also has some great books too. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, so that is basically everything kind of going on in my corner of the world. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to do questions. Like I said earlier, if you guys have a question, then go ahead and begin your question with a question mark at the beginning. That way when I scroll through, I can see really easily like who's got questions for me. And that way I can just boop, pick them right out. So yeah, and like I said, I have some really amazing ones from some people who posted them previously. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Word Addict is joining us as well. Welcome, Word Addict. Good to see you. Oh, also I forgot to say it when JJS and KM joined us. You guys, let us know where you're coming in from so that we can kind of see what corners of the world everyone is in. So yeah. Oh, look at that. Apparently, see, KM is like a social media expert, and she has informed me that there's a question box at the bottom that I can pull up so I can see questions from viewers there. Look at that. Isn't that convenient? Thank you. JJS is apparently coming to us from Florida, so welcome. I hope it's nice there and not too muggy. So yeah, apparently there is a place for questions on Instagram Live as well. Who knew? So that's exciting and convenient. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in to some of these that people submitted before. So the first one comes from at The Constant Voice. That is Beverly Lee, also another author. And she asked, who is your favorite character in your own books? By the way, guys, I decided I was going to come in cold on these so I could try to give as authentic and unpracticed answers as possible. And that might come back to bite me. Because now I have to choose a favorite character in the moment. Oh my goodness. This is like choosing children, you guys. I don't know that I have a favorite character. I don't know if it's possible to choose. I have so many that I love. I can tell you that Rook likes to try and vie for top spot. For those of you who don't know, Rook is my crime lord character from my Broken Gear series, and man, that dude is pushy. Like, he tries to just elbow his way into every scene. He wants to be my favorite character. So yeah, and he's extremely fun to write. Lowell is also a favorite character of mine. Lowell is just, oh my gosh, he's so sweet. I want to be friends with him. I would just want to hang out with him and Lenore all the time and just have like, because Lowell is just, he's so good-hearted and he just wants people to be happy. I love him, and he's protective of the people he loves. Oh, I have such a place in my heart for Lowell. And I will also say one of my favorite characters is one you guys haven't seen yet. The AI in my new Alien book that I'm working on editing is named Matt. And Matt is delightful. He's so silly, and I love writing him because he's just, oh my gosh, he's adorable. So yeah, so you guys we'll get to meet Matt eventually one day. But back to characters that you guys would have already met. Oh gosh, man. Like I said, they're all my children. I love them. I mean, Lenore, of course. Lenore is kind of similar to me in some ways, so of course I feel an affinity for her. Oh, so many. But those are probably the ones that just come to mind first thing. But really, I love them all. They're so wonderful. Oh, hey, at The Constant Voice, welcome. So that was, Constant Voice is Beverly Lee, who I was just talking about, fellow author friend. Beverly, I just answered your question. I should have waited. I didn't know you were coming. So I apologize that, you missed that part. And, oh, Beverly, I'm also letting people know, let us know from where you're joining us so that we can see where everyone's coming in from, and also what you're up to today. All right, so I'm just gonna see, looks like we have some good questions in here as well. So KM is asking a couple of different questions. So she said, tell us about your book research project. So I'm guessing that means like, tell us about the research that I'm doing for the book I'm working on right now. If that's what you mean. Oh, look at that. Tap it and it sends to the screen. Oh, KM, you're the best. I love you. You're just the best. She's so helpful. Oh my gosh, KM, I love you. I'm going to have to buy you some coffee after this. Right. So like I said, tell us about your book research project. Like I said, I think by that you might be asking what research I'm doing for the book. And oh, there's so much. I actually was just writing on my Patreon post today, which the $1 subscribers to my Patreon, they get like a back or like a inside view into like all my research and stuff like that I do. So one of the things that I've been doing as I've been researching for this book and creating alien species is I'm basically looking at like the animals of Earth and then kind of taking different traits that they have and combining them, because evolutionary biology is mostly organisms picking up different traits and kind of seeing what works and keeping those bits that work no matter how weird it is, and then getting rid of the stuff that doesn't. So man, like there's a lot of different like weird animal things that are making its way into this book. By the way, Beverly at the Constant Voice is saying that she's joining us from Oxfordshire in the UK. Welcome. Oh, people from all over the world. Love it. So back to the research. Essentially, an example of this is hummingbirds they use an incredible amount of energy because they beat their wings so fast, and they eat basically pure sugar all the time because they just burn through energy like crazy. But all of that energy can take a toll, and if they don't have enough food in order to kind of keep going, they will enter a sort of torpor state where they lower their body temperature, I think by something crazy like 40 degrees, and then they just kind of sort of hibernate without actually hibernating, until like they're in a situation where they can get food again. So that's one of the many things that I've kind of integrated into one of my alien races in this book. So that's been really interesting. I find just nature and learning about different animals and their weird traits and stuff fascinating. So that's been really great. Other questions? Let's see here. Let's see. I've got a couple more from KM, so I'm actually going to sprinkle them throughout since I've got other questions from other people as well. So I'll be sure to try and get everyone's and whatnot, making sure that I kind of include everyone. Let's see here. So next I'm going to do one of the questions from Magnet Rose. So Magnet Rose had asked, who and what would you say your writing influences are? I have been influenced by a lot of different writers throughout time. Like Edgar Allan Poe was a very big influence on me from when I was young. You can see a lot of Poe in my Broken Gear series. I mean, Raven's Cry, got a raven right there. My main character in the other books being called Lenore. So Poe is definitely in there. A lot of Shakespeare. In the next Broken Gears book, you guys will see like men dressing up as women to like be in disguise and stuff like that, which is very much a Shakespearean trope. Although it's more women dressing up like men. But anyway, so yeah, and just a lot of hijinks and whatnot, like Shakespearean comedies have. I will also say Gail Carriger is a huge influence on me. She's one of my top favorite authors, and I adore her. P.G. Wodehouse, I don't know how you pronounce it. But P.G. Wodehouse in the last year has become a really big influence because his writing is just hilarious. It's so funny. I love hijinks. I love just silly stories. So he's been an influence on me this year. Although I will say also an influence on me. There's a BBC comedy writer by the name of John Finnemore, who I adore. He wrote a series called Cabin Pressure, which is really funny. And he also did writing for That Mitchell and Webb Sound and That Mitchell and Webb Look. Sound was on the radio, Look was on TV. And I think he was also very influenced by Wodehouse. So it kind of all goes together and whatnot. I'm trying to think of other influences too. Robin McKinley is a really big influence. I read a lot of her as I was kind of coming up and like developing my writing voice and things like that. It's funny because I actually don't see a lot of influence from her in my writing. She writes beautiful, like scenic, atmospheric scenes and stuff, and that's like one of the things that I'm not good at all as a writer. But just her like love of fairy tales and whatnot, I think has really influenced me. So that is the not very short answer to that question. Thank you so much, Magnet Rose, for submitting that. That's a really good one. So I'm going to move on again, and let's see here. Let's see if we have any others. Like I said, I'm trying to like mix them up to try and make sure I hit something of everyone's, because I've got a lot of really good ones, and we're only supposed to be here for an hour, and it's already halfway past. So moving on, Open to the Library, who's another Instagram friend, was asking, let's see, are any of your characters inspired by real people? Oh, welcome, DSC Show Off. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know where you're joining us from and what you're up to today. So as far as characters being influenced by real people, what's that thing we all put in the beginning of books that is totally, definitely true about how every character in this is not resemble anyone in real life, and any resemblance is pure coincidence. You know, that little thing we all put in the beginning of our books. That message right there. Okay, so disclaimer out of the way. I will say I do draw a lot of inspiration from real people in my life. No one is like a pure representation of someone that I've known or anything like that. But I definitely do like take bits of people's personalities as I'm writing, and I kind of stitch them together into my character, because I really want characters to feel like real people, and I think that requires looking at real life people and like taking that inspiration and putting them into the character. SW Rain has joined us. Thank you so much for joining us, SW. I've still got some of your questions coming up. So exciting. Let us know where you're joining us from and what you're up to today as well. So I do take inspiration from people in real life, both positive and negative, more positive than anything. I don't really like to drag on people mention my stories. But I'm trying to decide how much is safe to disclose. Suffice to say, there are a couple of not very nice characters who I have drawn inspiration from some of my past bosses in the corporate worlds. I will let y'all know that. So I won't say names. This gets too close, so I won't say names. But like I said, I've taken some of the frustrations from my corporate life and those supervisors I had and put them into some of the not so nice characters. And then as far as all the good traits, that is a pure like Frankenstein's monster compilation of people that I know, especially their hobbies and skills, because it's a lot easier to be able to write about a character who has a certain hobby if I can go to a person in real life and say, hey, if I wanted to make a character talk about, let's say, gardening because I have a black thumb, what could I write that would be true and convincing? And then so I kind of, like I said, I tend to cherry pick and whatnot. SW is apparently joining us from Michigan and having a relaxing Sunday. Oh, yay. That's so nice. I'm so glad you're having a relaxing day. So actually, speaking of SW, I'm going to go ahead and move on to one of her questions. There were quite a few here, and I'm trying to hit as many people as possible. So I'll pick one that isn't much like any of the questions we've had so far. I'll actually do two because one of them is really, really fast. So one of the questions she asked is, what dye do you use to make your hair color so vibrant, and how often do you maintain it? So I use a hair dye called Punky Colors, or, well, I guess there's no different pronunciation, but it's the British spelling of colors with a U. You can find it at Ulta. You can find it online, pretty much anywhere. I just use the turquoise one, but because I've colored my hair some different shades, when you sort of layer this dye onto already colored hair, it does some very interesting things with like the hues it'll take on and things like that. And I love Punky Colors. It comes in like a little canister, so you can literally just like dip your fingers in and paint it on if you want, which makes it really easy if you are doing multiple shades. Apologies, my voice is trying to leave me a little bit. Let's take another tea break. Apologies, friends. So, yeah, so I like the canister. I've used other brands before where it's impossible to get it all of the dye out, and that always makes me feel like I'm wasting my money. So I really like them because, like I said, you can really get in there and make sure to get every drop. And it's thick, so you can really manipulate it, which is nice. It has a really nice scent, and it lasts a really long time on my hair. The second part of that question about maintaining it, honestly, I don't re-dye my hair very often. I don't know if it's my hair's chemistry or whatever, but that dye works really well. I do have to bleach it, which my older sister does my hair for me. So whenever I go home to visit, which right now isn't very often, it was like a year between my most recent visit and the one before that because COVID. But and it mostly just grows out. But when I do it, I have her bleach everything, and then she puts in the dye for me and stuff. When I re-dye it, if I'm not going home to visit my sister, my husband will actually do it for me. He is very, very accommodating when it comes to that because it's really not something he enjoys doing. But he's really sweet and he does that for me. And like I said, it's basically just one color, floop all over, and then I leave it on for like 2 hours. So that's the whole hair dyeing regimen, and then it just washes out. And then second question I'm going to do from SW is going to be, let's see here. What does a day in your life look like? I really, really like this because I think people's work processes is all really interesting. So, oh, we had another person join us. Carmelini the Great has joined us. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know where you're joining us from. So a typical day in my life, let's assume this is like a working day. So I mentioned earlier, I use time blocking where I did a time study on myself for like 2 weeks to kind of see how long stuff took me. And now I build my schedule around that. So my morning routine, I do a lot of things in the morning before I actually go to work. I get up, I have a smoothie, I do meditation, I let the dogs out and I feed the dogs, and I do the dishes. And that way there's a nice clean sink to start the day and whatnot. So everything together, takes me somewhere between like an hour and a half to 2 hours. I make sure to get dressed because getting dressed first thing in the morning is a nice little signal to my brain that like, okay, we're getting ready to go to work. We're going to need to focus. So I do all of that, and it doesn't always take me 2 hours, but I've tried to give myself, kind of time pillows so that I have some cushion in between, doing things. So like, let's say, because I have 2 hours blocked off from my morning routine, if it only takes me an hour and a half, then I can show up to work either half an hour early, or I can do some other extra stuff in that half hour interim, whatever I like. So I like the flexibility. Void has joined us. Void, thank you so much for joining us. Let us know from where you are joining us, and also what you're up to today. So after that 2 hour getting ready in the morning process, I have to take the dogs back out after they eat, all that kind of stuff. Then I sit down to work. There's a really good podcast called Productivity Alchemy that I really like. I've been a guest on there a couple of times, and on one of the episodes from like 2 years ago or something, I heard a tip that has really stuck with me, and that is, in the first 3 hours of your workday, try to get the 2 hours of the most important work done. And for me, that is my own writing. People have to pick how to prioritize their stuff, like, based on their own lives and their own stuff. So, like I said, for me, I want to get my own writing done first because I know myself and I know I can get very distracted very easily. So sit down, focus, do 2 hours of my own writing first, and then I kind of go from there. I mentioned earlier that I'm critiquing a couple of manuscripts for a whole bunch of people right now. And so what I've been doing is I have my 2 hours of my own writing and editing blocked off in the morning. And then after that, I have lunch. And then after that, I will work on an hour of critiquing. And usually I can get through a chapter in the 2 manuscripts that I've got on the front burner right now done in that hour. And then I might do another hour of critiquing, or I might do an hour of just like my general work stuff, whether I'm having to write a blog post or I'm creating Instagram posts, whatever needs doing. And I live and die by checklists. I have checklists for all of my work, all like the general work stuff that is kind of ongoing. I have checklists for all of those because, again, I'm really crap at remembering things. So yeah, those checklists are lifesavers for me. For whatever reason, when I get in there and I can be like, oh wait, what do I have to work on? Oh right, I have to like go through my emails because I haven't done that in 3 days. So of course they'll have multiplied like rabbits. Oh, SW is saying that she is also currently doing the same thing. First thing she does is work on making the money. Authorship and proofreading. I feel you on this. So yeah, so that's kind of just my day in a nutshell. As I finish these manuscripts I'm having to critique right now, that will change, and I hope to have more time to focus on my own writing. So maybe I can even do 3 or maybe even 4 or 5 hours of editing and writing in a day. But again, those first 2 hours, those are for me and my stuff. So which has seemed to work out really, really well. And I've now started myself on a hard and fast rule that like I'm done working by 6 o'clock in the evening. I have a habit of not being very good at balance, so I've had to set myself rules to say, no, 6 o'clock, you're done, you're out of your office. So yeah, and having that separation of space is really helpful too, because my office is its own separate room, and then I can leave, I can close the door, and then I can go out and do other things, like whether that's making dinner or playing with the dogs or whatever. So yeah. All right, so other questions. Let's see here. Like I said, I want to make sure to try and cover everyone. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to go back because I know KM had more questions. KM also asked, since this one's in the questions box, I can put that right up there. She asked, does your fashion inspire your book, or does your book inspire your fashion? I love this question. This is so fun. So basically with this, when it comes to fashion, I'm a little anachronistic. I am not totally historically accurate when it comes to the fashions of my steampunk characters. I am very inspired by like current steampunk culture. So for instance, in my books, the high-low skirts that Lenore wears a lot because they're more practical, those are very anachronistic. That definitely would never fly back in the Victorian era of our world. Never ever. But I mean, it works well. It's fun. And I'm not writing in our world. I'm writing in a different world that's just sort of similar. So that works. But what I try to do is I try to take inspiration from reality and from our current time period, and I try to meld it into a sort of hybrid version that works to remain true to the story. So for instance, Camilla, who's very traditional and very proper, would never wear one of those high-low skirts that Lenore likes. Even though she's also in a very physical job, she, is running around trying to save patients' lives, all that kind of stuff. Because she is the personality that she is, Camilla dresses properly, like a proper young lady. And she was also raised with upper-class manners and propriety, whereas Lenore was raised middle-class, and so she doesn't mind as much about that sort of thing. So I do try to, any choices I do make, I do try to keep them true to the characters. That's usually my biggest thing, is I want to remain honest to who those characters are. Really great question. Thank you so much, KM. That's awesome. Let's see here. So, let's see here. Here's a quick one. Open to the Library also asked if I wrote stories as a kid, and do I have any if I did. I definitely did write a ton of stories as a kid. I've always loved writing. I have always enjoyed just creating with words and whatnot. It's no surprise that this is the path I chose for my life. But as for keeping those, no, they don't exist anymore. Maybe I should have kept those. I now do have a hard and fast rule: never delete anything, because I cannibalize stuff all the time now. You never know what you might end up using that wasn't great and you wrote when you were like 13 or something. The stuff I wrote when I was 13 was terrible. It was so bad. But who knows? Maybe I could have used some of that stuff later on in life. It probably still sort of lives in my subconscious, so I probably am using some of it. I don't know what happened to it. I mean, we had old computers. Like, my twin sister and I were the youngest children in our family, so we got like computers handed down to us as the people older than us, like my older sister and then my mom and my dad, didn't use them anymore. So I have no idea what happened to those. They're probably on a hard drive somewhere, wherever computers go to die. So yeah, I do remember, and I tell the story a lot in interviews. There was a story I wrote in like second grade that had a very nice vampire in it. It was like, typical haunted house story that everyone in my second grade class had to write about or whatever. And I will say that nice vampire comes through in my stories. At the Constant Voice was asking about favorite characters earlier. Kieran definitely vies for that spot too. I adore my friendly vampire. I love him so much, and I want to hug him and be friends with him. So yeah, the the second grade story about the nice vampire has definitely made a return in a form in my books. Let's see here. So other questions. Let's see. Let's go here, actually. Another question from W.S. Rain. Let's see here. It says, I know, Kieran. I just adore him. Let's see here. So, do you listen to music while writing, or do you require silence? I do listen to music while writing. I'm fine with silence, I guess, but I like it. I like something to be going on in the background. I just can't really have words, because then the words get into my ears and I start thinking about those words instead of thinking about the words that I'm supposed to be working on my screen. So I'll do a lot of video game soundtracks. I will do a lot of like Dragon Age, for instance. I love Dragon Age. It's my favorite video game series of all time. So I'll do the music from there a lot. I will do music from Skyrim and ESO and the whole Elder Scrolls series. And occasionally I'll come across like a random instrumental song that I don't know where it comes from, but if it kind of gives me a little bit of energy, I will play that. So that's really fun. And I think, I've heard this. I'm not sure if it's actually true. It's like one of those things you read on the internet that sounds plausible, but you're not actually sure if this is true. So I've heard that video game soundtracks are specifically designed to keep you focused, because a lot of times, you get like the really energetic music when you're about to go into a boss fight and you're like, why did it get so bassy? Or, if you're like searching for like a clue or something. Video games, like, they want to keep you focused. They want to keep you into the game. So I've heard that video game music is specifically written in order to keep you focused. Whether or not that's actually true, I don't know. But it works for me. I really like my video game music soundtrack. It messes with my Spotify recommendations because writing is really the only time I want instrumental music. Otherwise, like, I want to sing and dance, but that's okay. We have ways around that. Let's see here. I'm going to do another question from, Magnet Rose. Let's do that one. So Magnet Rose asked, what's your favorite part of writing and least favorite? Favorite part would probably be the character interactions. I adore character interactions. I just love it. Honestly, I could just write characters hanging out all the time. I like putting them in situations. I just love it. I love their banter. Least favorite part is probably scene setting. I'm not good at descriptions. It's honestly one of my weakest skills as a writer. I have weird beefs about describing characters. YA tends to have this trend of like describing characters within an inch of their lives, and I don't like it. So I usually like for readers to be able to envision what characters look like just on their own. So usually, I apologize if you guys can hear noise in the background. My neighbor's kids are outside playing, and which is making my dogs downstairs bark. So apologies for the extra noise. But anyway, yeah, I will usually try to describe characters like with one or two defining features. I don't like describing them too much. It just I feel like it's just a lot of extra words, and two, I want readers to be able to kind of create their own vision of what that character looks like in their heads. I am especially bad with like physically describing a room. I mean, granted, there's some rooms you don't have to describe, like, you know, if I'm writing a contemporary something or other and I'm talking about a living room, like, you guys know what a living room looks like for the most part. But when it's like a steampunk setting in kind of a different sort of world, I will usually just focus on like kind of a skeleton of the room, or if I'm trying to give like a mood of the room, I'll talk about things like that. But beyond that, like I don't know how people know what to describe and what's useful and helpful. I just describe the things I need, and that's kind of it. I have friends who are beautiful atmosphere writers, friends who are just like, they can just, oh man, they set a scene. It's beautiful. I love it. So yeah, so that's probably my least favorite. Let's see here. It looks like we have just a couple of minutes left. So let's see here. Let me see what else I got. Let's see. I talked about the project I was working on right now earlier. Let's see. So let's see. I think I'm just going to try to do probably one more question. That's probably all we have time for. And SW gave me a bunch of them. So I'm going to do one more from her. Let's see. You know what? This is a fun one. SW asked me, what is my favorite genre to read? Okay, this is a complicated one because it's kind of changing. Forever and ever and ever, my favorite genre has been young adult fantasy. But to be honest, you guys, I'm kind of cooling on it. I don't know. There's something, and I think a lot of this is influenced by like the fact that I have been needing a lot more like feel good stories and stuff, just with the way that this last year has gone. I need happy, and I understand why a lot of YA is very angsty, and I get it. It's a tumultuous time of your life. Like, I was not a happy teen a lot of times. But it feels like a lot. Like, teenagers love to laugh, and I feel like I don't see that in a lot of YA fantasy. I feel like it's a lot of angst, and there's a lot of, I don't know. I just feel like there's not a lot of focus on like how funny teenagers can be. So I've kind of started gravitating toward middle grade. Middle grade has to be like snappy. It's got to keep the kids' attention. And so I really appreciate the writing style of middle grade. I feel like they really lean into humor a lot more. So that's kind of been my wheelhouse lately. I'm trying to think of some good examples. I will forever talk about the Septimus Heap series. I think it's actually better than the Harry Potter series. No offense to Harry Potter. All offense to J.K. Rowling, because she's kind of turned into a huge jerk. But Septimus Heap it's charming and whimsical. I absolutely adore the series. I Really liked the Percy Jackson series. Specifically, I'm sure if you guys have read the series, you know the chapter I'm talking about, when they go to Hoover Dam and they're like, I need some damn fries, and I'm gonna go visit like the damn snack bar. I love that scene so much. I adore that scene. It just makes me so happy. So like a lot of middle grade has been what I've been gravitating toward lately. Always fantasy. I don't know that I can really enjoy anything unless there's like not something a bit magical about it. I just love magic. Yeah, so there's that. And also just I've been doing a lot of nonfiction lately. My brain has been a little extra tired of late. And so nonfiction is a nice break. I just finished reading a book called An Edible History of Humanity is what it's called. And it's basically just human beings' relationship with food from like when we invented agriculture all the way to today, and looking at ways to create food security as our population is growing and growing and growing. Really interesting stuff. Some of it was very sad, especially when we got to the part about all the famines in like the mid 20th centuries and like the 19th century and stuff. But it's really interesting, and I think it's important to know history and the way cultures work in order to create colorful and diverse worlds, like especially for those of us who do a lot of world building and whatnot. So nonfiction has been a thing lately. And then of course, but always steampunk. Love me some steampunk genre. That's just my favorite. It's my wheelhouse. Okay, and we have like 3 minutes left. So I've got actually speaking of steampunk, there's one more question I'm going to answer. Also from WS Rain. Sally Rama has joined us. Hi, Sally. Feel free, if you want, in the comments to let us know from where you're joining us. So last question I'm going to do before I sign off. SW asked, how did you get interested in steampunk? Which is a really fun question. Basically, my dad is an engineer and my mom is a seamstress. So I grew up always seeing how stuff got put together. My dad's actually an electrical engineer, but if you've ever met an engineer, you know they all look at the way things are constructed, whether they're mechanical, electrical, civil, anything like that. Every single one of them looks at like the construction of things. So, I mean, all throughout my life, my mom, she would look at garments and see, I see how they did that. They put blah, blah, blah together. And then my dad would look at like, you know, whether it was like the infrastructure of a building or a plumbing system or whatever, and go, I see how that. So like that was a huge influence on me. So I have picked that up now. Like here in Nashville, there are loads of restaurants and stuff where they have like the exposed piping and stuff with like brick walls. I love it. I love it so much. And I'll look and I'll look for like where the piping system begins, and I'll like try to look at the functionality of things. When I work out with my trainer, I'm always looking at how his different like mechanical like weight machines and stuff works. And I just love it. I love that whole period of discovery where people were just like inventing new stuff left, right, and center. The industrial era on which steampunk is based is all about just improving the way stuff works based on that sort of steam level technology. So it's always just been really interesting to me. Plus you have the fashion and everything that you get to play with. There was a lot of various civil rights movements and stuff happening. Writer Ren Ellis has joined us. Hello, Ren. We're just wrapping up here, but welcome. Let us know where you're joining us from. And let us know what you're up to today if you want. So, so I mean, like, you had a lot of suffragettes movements and whatnot happening. Not like kind of in this era. You had a lot of women going to work more during that industrial era. So just, oh my gosh, there's like societal upheavals, all kinds of stuff happening with technology. There was a lot of discovery happening. This was an era when people were like going out and trying to figure out like all the ways the world worked. We wanted to discover every new animal and plant on Earth, obviously sometimes with terrible results. And so and that conflict too is really fun to play with. Colonialization obviously caused a butt ton of problems. And so, you know, if you wanted to write steampunk and follow that sort of path, there's a ton of content there for you to choose from. So yeah, so like it's a really fascinating era. This sort of Victorian era. There's a lot to choose from because Queen Victoria ruled for so long. And yeah, it was a fascinating time in human history. We had like the development of the middle class that was coming up and whatnot. So I just love it. There's so much I love about steampunk, and I love the imagination that you can take with it. But I also like, one thing I do like about steampunk too is like there are like caps on the technology. Like I like that there are like boundaries to which you have to work within, and then thinking of creative ways to work within those boundaries and be creative with them. So anyway, I've gone on a lot about why I love steampunk so much. I think that answers probably your question though, SW. Yeah, so yeah, there's definitely some similarities between me and Lenore, and looking at all the ways that things work and are put together. Yeah, that definitely came from me. But yeah, so I think that's everything today, you guys. It's about 4 o'clock now. Thank you all so much for joining me today. This was so fun. I love it. I'm going to start doing this on a monthly basis, probably around the end of the month, every month. So I will, of course, put up announcements when I'm ready and I have the next one scheduled and whatnot. So again, thank you so much. I super appreciate y'all. I hope you guys have a good time. And like I said, I'll post this elsewhere too. If you think of more questions, feel free to fling them at me when I put this up on YouTube and IGTV. I've never used IGTV, so that one I'm not 100% sure about. I am learning as we go. So anyway, thank you all so much. I hope you guys have such a great time and a great rest of your day wherever you are. Yeah, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week and month. You guys take care. Bye. Boop. Nope. Oops, sorry. I messed up. This is gonna be good. Dana, learn to do the thing. There we go. Yes. And